Hello, hello. Blast. Seems I turned off my music. Gotta turn it down a little bit on my end. Seems I turned it off on that starting soon screen. Not a big deal though. We kind of just got that going. Hey, look at that. This is what we got going last time, although it's not. Yeah, there we go. Gap. Gap is curious. Ow. Kitty is scratching me. Come on. Come say hi. Yeah, so we I don't think we had alerts the past couple streams. And I thought it was all the same Stream Elements account, but I guess you get a Stream Elements account for each social login. I mean, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, we didn't have the alerts, and I do eventually want to like put it in here. I moved a bunch of stuff around, so if I didn't break it, I think this should still. Okay, Kitty, you are like right in the bad spot. I think that. I guess that makes sense. That first one though was kind of odd. I don't have that enabled though. Which one would that be? So I just have the chat showing right now. Okay, let's change that. We're gonna tweak that. I don't know if the messages go away, and we get that. I do want to get that rolling. Speaking of that, I think what we do today is, honestly, I don't even remember, what did we highlight? We do want to get the Kitty. Stop licking that. What is your deal? Come on. Come on up. I do want to get the highlighting of messages going. I was thinking we could do that through Streamer.bot and the quote feature, but the quote feature actually works slightly differently than I think I was expecting it to. We might want to use it, but maybe not for this. So, come on out of there. Come on, over here. I still might actually use the quote feature, but not for this use case, I don't think. But I think we get the drops working, and then this Kitty is very needy right now. I think we get the drops working, and then we start looking at doing the highlight chat messages. I think we can probably hit on both of them today. I don't think it'll be too hard to get the drops set up, because we're just going to be switching it to be used through commands instead of rewards. So now chat messages should show up here. Oh, you know what? I don't have chat messages. I don't have the chat messages on the main alert page thing. So let's go over to the display. We'll get our service started here, and I might have cleared my cache here. I don't remember. Let's get the server rolling, and then we can just turn it on. Yeah, Equilibrium. Yeah, I do remember. You stopped by last. What week are we in now? Last week, I guess. Last week, Thursday. But yes. To answer your question, I do. How's it going? Let's get the... I guess I do want... I just realized I updated my Stream Deck here. And I named them all the same. So this is test alerts. We want the chat turned on right now. Come on, stop that. I have to lock you up again. Lock you out, rather. Goodness, kitty. And models. Okay, let's turn on the chat. And then we've got our server running, so hopefully that works here. There we go. I do want to make that look a little bit nicer, but I think that's gonna work for right now. And we'll have to put it on the main page because I do also want to show the alerts. Because we've got the main page showing the... It's just the got cat hair everywhere now. 3D this shows, and then the models would also show if come on, stop, don't you meow at me, you know what you're doing. Completely lost my train of thought now. Yeah, so yeah, overlays. We have the main like production. We pushed what we worked on last week to the repo, which did a new Netlify build. So our prod is only shows the models and the models and that alert thing there. So the models are, I think we could turn that on and it'll drop. Yeah. I do actually want to move that. No, this is prod. I kind of want prod on top. So we gotta get them all in the same scene. The camera is different though, so I haven't like jumped into that yet because I don't. I'm kind of putting off dealing with that because I suspect it's not going to be terribly fun to deal with. But let's get the commands working and we can get those drops. We've got Streamer.bot over here. It has a tab called commands. Right now we have the 3D command, and I don't think I can make the text bigger, so apologies. Effectively, it's just looking for a chat message to start with that interaction message. And then it dumps it into, I guess we got it grouped. And then we've got some permission stuff in there. I don't think the mods and subscribers works for YouTube. We'll have to come back to that, but we'll have to double check that. So I think what we're gonna end up having is a chat command for the 3D, a chat command for, we could do, the chat command is gonna trigger an action. The action is, where's the 3D? Commands. So it's triggering the commands event here, which I think is fine. I think we're okay just having it trigger the command action. And I suspect we could do the same for all of these, because we don't really, at least not right now, I don't think we need it to do anything. Like, we don't need a sub action to fire off. Although some of this would be kind of fun. Send message to channel. Maybe. So I think what we're gonna do is maybe do drop, call it drop, and say we could do one command per. Put each command prefix on its own line. So if we do something like this, okay, so comma separated, and it shows up under 1. So we could do I think there's a couple ways we could handle this. We get the exact start. We want it to be in the start. So 3D, when the command comes through, you can see it up here still. Whoa, where's my finger? Right here. All the way up there. You can see that the text has exclamation mark 3D in the front of it. And we are looking for this command just at the start. And it strips off, when that actually showed up over here, stripped off that like 3D and then the space. And it needs to, and it has to be at the start. We don't want it to show up anywhere because the parsing gets weird. I think we still want to do the parsing here. And what we could do is we could have just drop be a command that does a random thing, and you can specify. I think that's what we want to do. The other option would be, I think, to make a command per model thing that can drop. So I don't want Twitch, I want YouTube. We'll do user counter. And do we do a persist counter? I don't think we do a persist counter. We want to, so if we do allow all and we don't put any in here, it's just going to allow everybody. If we do a deny and put something in here, this is a group that I could just add accounts to, and then they will just basically be prevented from doing this. I think I kind of want to just keep doing this because this, I suspect, rather than just turning everything off, if somebody comes through and is abusing it, I can just toss them on that list or in that group for the moment, and that'll just prevent them from doing anything effectively. So as long as I'm consistent and set up this permission across everything, I think this is going to kind of be the way that I would want to handle it. At least these kind of commands. We can have other specific commands as well, but I'm going to use the same group, check commands, and I forgot to do the action. We're going to just stuff them all into the commands right now. So that'll give us an event here. It'll show up in the stream events queue. And I think that's going to be fine because we also have other stream events in there that I think makes sense to all just put all of them in the same thing. We can always split it out. It's not terrible to split it out. And then we got the history here. So like we can see some chat events already. And I think this is probably one of my... Whoa, what? That's no bueno. That is no bueno. We might have to play around with that. So what we do is, let's just take off the chat and turn it back on. And then we'll just watch new incoming ones. Let's get that drop thing enabled. I also want to. It would be nice to have a way to test some of this. So what we could do is when a chat event comes in, it triggers this event. This is what we're listening for. We could also do something else that triggers the event, like we were playing around with the hotkey. The problem with the hotkey is that when we... Is there any other way to do it? Can we just trigger it from here? That would be kind of nice. I don't see a way to do it. The problem is when we trigger this hotkey, so if we do, which is a ridiculous hotkey by the way, but here, let's go over the queue. The variables are different. So when we trigger a message, this is all the variables that come through that we use, and we're kind of in our code on the front end expecting this. When we trigger it with the hotkey, we end up getting this. So the problem is that data does not match our expectation on the front end. So I think we do want to have a way to trigger these rather than just keep doing the same chat event over and over, or like typing in the chat or whatnot, because then if I set this up to a hotkey to like trigger these things, I think it's going to make it easier for me to test stuff without actually having like a stream running or anything. Because the way that YouTube works is that when to do a stream, we have to have started a stream event. And you can either schedule it ahead of time or you can just like go live. But if you just like go live without doing a schedule, you are effectively like on the fly creating an event. But you don't have like an IRC chat channel that's just always running that you can connect to. It is like stream, or it is chat events per each specific event, which makes it a little bit harder to test some of this. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is when we do this, we are listening for here. We are listening for events, and then we get arguments and we do some stuff with it. So when we get, let's go to our front end here. When we get a chat event, I'll go ahead and requeue this one. This is what we're getting into our event here. Now, if I queue this one up, it comes through. But the data is different. So I think what we end up wanting to do is we can set like a default. If we go into, so this is the one with all of the info on it. I'm going to go ahead and copy this object and say this is going to be a default chat event, and then we do this. So now this is going to give us something to work with. The timestamp, I think we do want that in there because what that's going to enable is we use it for I was going to say we use it for the ID, but now that I think about it, I actually do not. Where is the ID? Oh, it's actually up here, isn't it? Key. It's timestamp. There you go. I can't use that same timestamp actually. So what I'm going to do for my default chat event is I'm going to just say, we're just going to say new date, and that should give us enough of a timestamp to like keep things separate every time. We're just gonna set the ID to be empty and message ID to be kind of an empty thing, and then the rest is probably fine. I mean, the action ID will be the same. Where is my message? Running action ID, requeued action. Oh, that's kind of nice to see if it's actually requeued. We're going to set that to false. Now where's my, oh, here it is. Message, boop. Got it. So now we have a default chat event. What we can do is when we get something that comes through and doesn't have a message, we can use the default instead of that. So for each event, where are we using event data? We're using it there. We're actually going to do it right here. So we should always have the, we're not actually going to have the event timestamp. Okay, so what we'll end up doing is we'll say if event.data.message does not exist, we'll put a couple of these in here so we can avoid any unexpected errors. So we'll say if it doesn't exist, then we're going to do this object. Otherwise, we will do that object. And that will give us dynamic event data based on if the message is populated. So if that message is not populated, which it is not when we press the hotkey, we can use the default chat event. So now we need to go to the chat page, and we should be able to hit our hotkey now. We did get it coming through. Oh, we do actually change the structure of it. So we actually need to do the same, but instead of using the event, we just use that. I don't know if I'm gonna have to refresh here, but yep. There we go. So now I can just keep hitting that hotkey. That's annoying. JS new date timestamp. I need the seconds in there. Date.now, I guess. What does that end up giving you? Okay, so it's just gonna give you numbers, which will actually be different. I'm fine with that. New date. Now. this. We're gonna move this all the way over here. We'll go ahead and refresh, and now is not a function. Date. And all we're really using this timestamp for is the key. So it's not a constructor, so that means that we can't call a new arg on it. There we go. So now same key. Is it not due like milliseconds or something? The privacy reduced timer position. So reduced time precision to 2 milliseconds. It's possible that we have something like that in here. Because if we do it again, oh, it's not running actually every time because this isn't part of the function. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna say timestamp. We're gonna do that, and now we want it to return an object every time we call this function. We're gonna do this. So now what we can do is, if we have this, that makes that a little bit more annoying, doesn't it? Okay. What we're actually going to do, rather than having the check here, we are going to mutate. Which doesn't feel great. So we'll say if it doesn't have a message, then go ahead and say event equals default chat event, and we're going to pass in a timestamp of date.now. So now that should give us a new timestamp every time we get a new event, because it's going to rerun that function and it's going to rerun the date.now, or it's going to run this function, which is also going to give us a new date.now. So now we should get, there we go. And now I can just keep hitting this. And see if I do it too fast, we still do, whoa. That's funny, because so that's using the production stuff. This looks much better. Do we have, okay, so we've got the test chat on. Oh, I got it. Okay, we have the test chat on. Do we, yeah, that's fine. Ooh. So like this is why it's nice to test. So as long as they're coming in at a specific clip. Occasionally we do get ones that just like overhang, which is odd. Do I still have the click on here? No. Oh, I do. It's just click also lets you rotate. So I don't feel great mutating the data there, but you know, whatever. Should be fine. So then at least we're seeing the event data, and then we can inspect it to see if it is the default. And we should be getting, is it actually coming in as that message ID? Oop. Message ID, okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So that, I think it's gonna make it a little bit easier to test. And that also means that when we trigger, we can do the same for the commands. So let's go over to the commands. We've got the alert, which does that thing. If we go to our models, we're doing use stream event, and then we include all of the models that we have. We've got a bunch of things in here that are from Theater.js. We were using it to help us position the camera, which we might end up, like I said, we might end up having to do that again because our camera, our perspective camera here, is substantially different than the other one. And it would be nice to have a single camera for everything. So we'll have to think about that. I mean, it might be a matter of just rotating the alerts to match this. So our camera is positioned in a way that it makes the models dropping look nice. We don't get weird perspectives. And then just rotate the chat messages and the events to match that rotation and position and FOV, I guess. Sheet provider. Okay. So that's with the Theater.js. What do we got? Oh, this is all the camera stuff that we were playing around with, isn't it? Okay. So in each one of these, we are filtering for specific things. And that is actually giving us the alert. And we're doing that because we want to specifically key into that value there. So this is going to have to change for everyone because we, A, don't have reward redemption anymore, and B, we don't have drop stars. Twitch stream is going to each one of those. Okay. And use stream events is coming from the context. So what we're doing in the chat is we've got a use stream events, and then we are filtering here. I think we can do more than one filter. So it might make sense to do a filter at the top level just to make sure that we're in the specific command that we care about. And then, I mean, I should probably change that to not be chat or channel alerts. That feels odd. So I think what we end up doing here, it's not Twitch stream anymore, which we'll want to change. And we're going to say drop command. So now when we do use alert, which is not defined here, which is fine. Because use alert is a helper to help us like mutate the thing. So I think we could probably take that off because we can probably pass the raw. And what we want to do is say, I guess YouTube stream, and we're going to filter and in that filter, we're going to say return. Instead of calling this an alert, we're going to call it an event. And now if we say console.log event, we can inspect that event on this page. Models. So we're gonna start getting errors, which is fine. Twitch stream is not defined. Yep, that makes sense. Because we need to start switching these to drop command. So if we do one of those events now, that let's just clear this. It's sort of not helpful at the moment. So this hotkey triggers a chat event. I guess I'm gonna do another one that triggers the command. And I guess we'll just do that. So now this is the downside. We are triggering a single action called commands. There's not a great way to say, hey, only put this in the drops. And I think we want that. So I think what we end up doing is saying, hey, this is not going to be just commands anymore. We're going to say command 3D. Whoa, if I can spell. Edit. And this is probably going to break our 3D command. And actually, I don't want a case sensitive, so that's fine. We can leave that unchecked, because 3D, I can see somebody typing it either way. Like it would make sense to me that somebody would say, hey, 3D, the D is typically capitalized, so I'm going to use it when I do the command. So I'm fine with that. And then now this isn't actually going to trigger that anymore. We're going to have a separate command that does edit, I guess, not rename, and we'll call it drop. Can I put colon? I don't know if I want to do a colon. Command drop. I guess that's not bad. So we'll just be listening for these events, and now what I can do in my hotkeys, I can have a what do I do? I guess I'll do. Should do W maybe. Which I think this is gonna be the hardest part, is remembering. W can do that. No, let's do Z. Let's do Z. And then we're gonna do another one for the drops. And I think that is gonna be D, because that seems to make sense in my head. So now when we trigger that command, or when we trigger the hotkey, it's going to trigger words. When we press the hotkey, we're going to trigger an action, and we are specifically triggering the command drop action. So now when we are here, we can use stream events. This is context. Do we have to add anything more to the context? we are listening to the raw events, so we should get the raw events coming through. In this case, though, we are actually concerned about the command. So Ustream events should give us everything that we've subscribed to, and events should give us information about it. So if we're on this page, oof, okay, yep. Cannot read properties of undefined, reading filter. If we clear this out and we do that, or this, we did get the command coming through. Are we not seeing stream events? We are not. Well, we are actually logging out all events. So we should be getting these events. We were getting the chat messages before. Doing that, and then we're filtering. So we should be actually getting 2 logs, I believe. The one that's in the stream events, which is like the default there. I don't think we need to, like, the event list hasn't changed. We should be just getting the commands. So if we go to this, we might be getting errors, and that might just be preventing everything from running. So let's take out this for right now, because those are taking commands that we're passing through and throwing errors when they load. So they might actually be preventing us from seeing anything here. So if we do this, we got a drop. It didn't actually show anything though. Okay, we're getting chat events. The chat event came through. The command, however, did not. So let's go back to stream events. We're going to go ahead and get the whole event list here. And let's make sure that we don't have a new event that we need to be subscribing to. So it should come in as a command message. But what we're doing is we're listening to the raw actions. And I think we still want to do that, because the raw actions, when an action is triggered, it actually considers if the delay. We don't have any delays here, and those aren't really even doing anything. And it's reflected in the duration value here. I don't think we want to drop. Ooh, this is actually triggering the wrong action. Switch that to drop. Do this. And like, there's other cooldowns that we can add in here too. So I think we want to put it in. It might actually make more sense to put it here, in which case then all of our commands we can just listen to directly. Cooldown. Let's look at the commands. If we go over to their docs, let's look at commands. Let's see what the cooldown, what it says about the cooldowns. Edit dialog, group action, sources, counters, cooldown. Cooldown could be set for a command both on the global and per user basis. The minimum of time in seconds before the command can be set. Command set can be used again by anyone. Per user, and then there's a cooldown action. Defines which action should run if the command set is called while a cooldown is in effect. That's actually really nice. And that makes me think we actually do want to rely directly on the command itself. Because we do want to just fire off the command when it comes in. We don't need it to delay. But we can put in, if we put like a 30-second time in this, there you go. So we can do like a chat message kind of thing. So I think in this case we do actually want to interesting. So I think we do want to look at the commands, and that will be in the with stream events. Oh, you know what? We changed some stuff here. So we've got to use stream events from context stream events with create use stream events. Okay, no, never mind. That should work. Use stream events. We should be fine. And we're subscribing to the command still, so that should be okay. And then we're doing the React context provider stuff. So we should be getting in YouTube stream all of the events, despite how they're triggered. Unfortunately not, actually, because if we trigger, can we do anything else as far as triggering that goes? So what we were doing is we were setting a hotkey to trigger an action. That action is then what we are listening to in our chat. I think I'm fine with that, but the problem is command is an event and an action in our case. It was a specific action that we've like hooked up to it. When it runs, it fires off the action. We can listen for the action or the command, but the command is going to give us more control in here as far as like timeouts and cooldowns and such go. But what that means is if we use a hotkey, we can't trigger a command, can we? I mean, it specifically says action, so I don't think we can even trigger. Can we do like a test event or something? So if we trigger this, where is our commands? Okay, we are actually triggering an action here. We're going to add another action. We're just going to call it command. And it's going to be in stream events. So now when we do a command, we're just going to trigger off the command event for both. And we're going to use the other ones hopefully as a way to trigger an actual command here. So what we could do is we can do get command state, set command state. So like, what would that enabled? So we might not actually be able to run a command. Oh, this is kind of cool. System keyboard. I feel like I looked at this a little bit a while back, but I didn't pick a color, get a random name number. They just added MIDI controllers, which is kind of nifty, but I don't think that's anything we're going to end up using. Well, so we can also do some OBS things, but that's not relevant either. So we can't actually use that to trigger. We can't use an action to trigger a command. We can get a state of the group. So like, I mean, we've got some nice things in here, but I don't think that any of this is actually going to be helpful. So I don't know that we're going to have a good way to trigger this outside of typing in the text. But I think it's a trade-off that I'm willing to work with. So let's do... We need to get logs here. We're not going to be able to actually trigger any of these events. So let's go ahead and just delete this. And we will go ahead and delete this one. So now we don't need the hotkeys either, and we're going to have to strictly rely on typing in this. So if we say drop, that is technically a chat event as well. Kind of expected it to show up there. Because we do have... I thought there was a button to like tell it to go also to... I guess not. Okay. So those will trigger that, which will trigger that, and then it's going to show up here. So we can look at the events. Okay, we got a bunch of values and such here. It would be nice to get a way to trigger this outside of typing in the chat every time. But at least when we're live, now that we have it, we can re-trigger from here. We can do a re-queue. So I mean, that's something. So what kind of events are we getting now? We are getting the drop event now with the command. So we can say in here when there's a data and event. So event needs to be command. Event.event.source needs to be command. And then the data needs to say command is drop. That would be the command. Data command needs to be drop. And that will let us key in and only use, do I need to do, no, get rid of all that. That will like pre-filter it. So this is going to only give us commands it'll specifically give us the drop command, and that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and let's do the start. We're going to comment those out. We are gonna drop a bunch of the stars, and we'll just do that over and over. We did want to refactor a little bit of this because we've got this use alert on everyone, which is do some set state stuff, which is not lovely, but is sufficient for the moment. So here we want to do drop command, and I think we can also filter on that. So what we'll end up filtering for is we want the command to be drop and the message to include. The message, I'm guessing the message can either be an empty string. So if we just type in just straight up exclamation mark drop, I think that's going to give us an empty string. So I think what we can do is we can say the data needs to be the data.message either needs to be empty or it's going to be including include star. And we'll have to be a little bit careful, because if we are strictly relying on, we might like want to add a parser or something to this to make it add a parser. How do I explain this? Each component that we write, if we do it this way, each component's going to have this, and it's going to be listening for a specific piece of text. Theoretically, we can keep adding models, so it's not, I mean, infinite scale, but also like realistically, you know, one a month, if that. So like not that many. So we can potentially manage it this way. That's not the end of the world, but we might want to actually refactor it out into a function, kind of like a reducer function that says we're going to take the string message. We are going to only care about the first arg, comma separated, and we might have to get funny with the splits. I guess it doesn't even matter. We don't. If we just do the includes, we're just going to care about a specific piece of text. But what we can do is, if it's in like a reducer function, I think it'll be easier to see and basically filter to a specific model all in one spot. So we can say we've got the 10 models. We're going to write a function that says, hey, if this thing includes star, filter to these. But if we add in the future another one that's called try star, that function would also contain the information for all the other models, and we would at that point say, hey, if it includes try star, only do this one. If it includes star, we don't want to do both stars. We just want to do just star. So having that all contained, abstracting it all and having it all contained in the same spot, I think it would be easier to manage. Let's get it working, and then we're going to do that right away, I think. I think it's going to be worth it. So there we go. That gives us the stars. We got the refresh, and we've got our test models on. So we also saw it here, likely. There you go. And I mean, we could play around with the rotation a little bit here. because right now they're all spawning in and they're coming in flat, which is fine if we're dropping a whole bunch of stuff because they're gonna bump into each other and rotate. But if it's just this like single set of stars, especially if you're only doing like 1 star, and that's the other thing. Eventually, we might want to do quantities for stuff. So I'll have to think about that a little bit. We might have to like end up having a specific syntax that'll be like anybody that's aware of it can use it. Otherwise, just drop is kind of like drop a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm kind of okay with that. All right, so we've got the star. We're listening to just that, and it seems to be working. So if we do, let's try it here. If we do exclamation mark drop, that should trigger a command, which should do that. I think I'm okay with that. So let's do this reducer thing, and we're just gonna pipe the message to it. And how do we manage that? I guess we could do it based off the name of the model. So we're gonna do a new file. We're gonna call it, I'm not gonna make it .jsx. We're gonna say filter model drop dot JS, I guess. So we're going to say filter models, and we're going to do that. We're going to pass in a name. No, we're going to pass in the message, which will be this. Actually, we need 2 things. We need both the message and the model. And then we can say here, we're just going to say switch message. I can never remember the switch. I don't do them enough. There, yeah. So then we can do a case. We end up wanting to filter basically. So what we can do is we can say switch is true. And if true is equal to the case, that one is going to, that's switch line, case, whatever you call it, is going to trigger. So what we can then say is, if we do a case and we say message.model, no, message.includes model. Is it lowercase? Case. Return. It's all going to be just truthy. Do I like that? I guess. I guess it's... Well, we need the message, and we need a way to tell it which model we care about. But then we end up naming the model. So this isn't quite the abstraction I was thinking about. Can I get drop command props? What do we get for props? All right, let's do import. Yeah, we could also start to abstract out a bunch of this too, because like some of this is all going to be the same. Our use effect is probably going to be the same. A lot of this is going to be the same. The only thing that's really changing is this. Our use alert is probably going to be pretty much the same. This isn't the abstraction I was actually thinking about, but I think as we adjust other stuff, it'll still feel good to include it. Filter model drop. So then what I think it'll just give us an additional point to start doing our abstraction from. I mean, there is one, isn't it? Okay, that was just taking a while to refresh here. So it's not quite the abstraction I was thinking about, because honestly this ends up working for everything if we're just strictly relying on the string and we're specifying the actual value there. So like that's gonna be the thing we're looking for. So it ends up not being the abstraction I was thinking about. I think we could potentially like drop in the like name of the component or something. So if we looked at if we inspected the props, we might be able to get some of that information and have the props fill this in more automatically. But the problem then is, it's not really a problem, but if we abstract out some of this code and then all of these components end up being whittled down to like a single component that we're just reusing, then that starts to make less sense. So we'll leave this in. It's gonna end up serving more as a reminder, if anything. But I guess I'm fine with that. So drop command comes in, we're using it and we're filtering it, and we're gonna say, we're gonna call this a model alert, a model drop. And then we need to, we're looking for our message, toggle drop. Where were we passing that? Model drop, array from, toggle drop. Were we actually not using that? Channel alert. We weren't even using that. All we're using it as a way to set the state, which feels weird, but you know. I don't know if I like that. I'm actually just gonna remove this. I don't think I like that. But again, if we are shooting to adjust this anyways, not the end of the world. Triceratops we aren't actually using anymore. We are using this one. So let's go ahead and change this. And we want to say columns. And I'm going to not put the S in there because that should allow, as we have it written, that should allow anybody to say column or columns with an S. And that should be good there. We do have a spiky sphere that we are using. Whoop. I don't have that in my clipboard anymore. Okay, let's drop that in there. Spheres. And I guess this is where it starts to say we can actually do something like this. We can say spiky. Spiky, and we can have like multiple things that would trigger it. Because this is going to be just like input, you know, from y'all, like typing in the chat. That's going to be what triggers this. So we might want to play around with that a little bit. And the reason we weren't dealing with that before is because when we were using channel point redemptions, it was a button somebody was clicking, and that button had a value assigned to it. So it was a very well-defined button, or a very well-defined text that we were looking for. But now it's much more freeform. I keep clearing my clipboard here. It's messing with me. And share. And Taurus. And we've got an all. Oh, okay. So I think that's all that we really care about, because we're not really using those two anymore. We originally made the all shapes and the Triceratops as like test things. We do actually have to import this on everything, others we are going to get errors. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Import. Import. We got it on the star already, and then we put it on this one. So what ends up being, I think, more fun about this is the default like trigger is going to just assume you want to drop all the things, which I think is going to make this a lot more fun. Well, we're not looking at chat. Okay. So then if we go back to the index page here, we should be able to pull these back in, and that will give us, if we do a refresh, drop command is not defined. We also need to change out this. I could do a search and replace for some of this stuff too. Like this Twitch stream probably would be pretty easy to search and replace at this point. The search and replace in VS Code works pretty well for this. So like, but we didn't have too many, so it didn't feel like it was necessary to like go through all that effort. Okay, so now if somebody does, I mean, every time we refresh it, it's going to do that, but if somebody does a drop now, it's going to do the thing. We're getting it on 2 layers here. We were getting it on like the main overlay, but also in our page here. So if we do, whoa, shoot, what we're gonna do next? So everything's dropping when we run the command. Oh yeah. Slight distraction. So this seems to be working. Definitely took a little bit longer than I was planning for, but slight distraction. I want to fix the star to use a material. because right now it is not, and it is white, and it kind of bugs me, to be honest. Taurus isn't gonna have it. Chair has a material. I'm gonna use the matte cap material to do this, and I am copying from my chair, which is using that. We set the node, and we set the count, and then the material ends up being one of these instead. So you can see we didn't actually have anything even defined here as far as material goes. So that should do that, that should do that, but then we do need to import it, and it comes from the React 3 dry, and that should give us a texture on there now. Okay, so we got gold stars. I do want to change that though. We have noted here the texture. That's not quite the texture list, but that's fine. Ooh. It's gonna get us there. So we can go here. Let's pick a good nice yellow. Well, or gold. Like that's kind of a. If we're thinking like stars, I kind of dig that. To be honest, I mean it feels very like spacey, if that makes sense. There are a lot of like wicked textures in here though, so let's just give it a scroll. I don't feel like this star should be like a gold. I'm kind of digging the like, I mean yellow isn't really like a I was to say more of the like astrology sort of real space feel to it. But also it's a literally shaped like a star, and we're already outside of the like realistic zone, as it were. So we could go with something very like yellow. This chrome is kind of cool though. We'll try them both and see what it looks like. This gold is kind of fun too. And these should like kind of interact with each other too. And this is a material that I believe, some of these materials I believe will actually show reflections. And like I think that's part of what makes putting all of this in WebGL fun and interesting, is because now we have physics things and everything is like interactable, which I think really makes it enjoyable. Hopefully. Is this good content? I mean, is it good content to like play around with these things? Also probably doesn't help that, you know, these streams are on Friday afternoon in the US, you know. Okay, so what do we got? If we do a refresh, everything I think drops. So we should be able to... That texture looks interesting. Did I actually hit refresh on that? I don't think I did. Okay, no, I didn't. You can see like some stuff goes pretty wild. I kind of don't mind the blue. But with the texture, it's definitely, I think I've got some holes in my model. I don't know if I'm liking the blue. I want something that like pops a little bit more, because we have a lot going on. So let's I feel like it's a little bit too like green, I guess. So what's the other one here? It's more of a gold. I'm digging the metallic for this, I think. Or the reflective type of material. Although I think it's kind of hard to tell if it's actually doing any reflection in there. So I say we either go with this one or we go with this one. Let's try this one first. Give that a refresh. Let's see what it looks like. I kind of dig that. We're going with it. I don't even think I want to try that. I like that gold feel to it. We're gonna drop that in there so we remember it. So now we got the star set, and we should be able to. I don't know if the overall one has updated, but so we saw it there. Let's go ahead and give that a refresh. There we go. It feels so random if like without any background of like why that stuff. And also I think I'm kind of amused by it. Like a star spiky ball thing in a like it's just such I think there's a hole in my model. I think I've got like a hole or something in that. But it kind of makes it cool with the like weird reflections and such. Okay, so now we're doing everything. If we just do exclamation mark drop star, it should just do the stars. There we go. And that's going to be like a little bit more clean because everything's not coming down at the same time and like exploding up top. We're not doing anything too particularly smart as far as like resetting them and dropping them. So the more elements that you put in there, the more chaos and how it all comes down, I think is probably the best way to say it. But if we do just the star, there's a little bit less. But now what's fun is we can say drop star and share and column. Speaking of column, I think I'm actually gonna name that it is technically a column the way I drew it, I believe, but considering it's just falling out of the sky, it's probably not. Like this might also be something that somebody wants to use or expect to be an option to use. So just double checking, we are getting a bunch of stream events. So every time we do, okay. So we're seeing the raw, we're seeing three events essentially. And that's where these streams from Affection are nice, because top level, we make the subscription, it's just one thing, and then in each place where we end up wanting to use it, we just filter down the messages. So we end up effectively ignoring any message that we don't care about in the context of that specific component. So we end up getting 3 events. We're getting the YouTube message event, which, speaking of which, those aren't working again. We're getting the raw action that happens in Streamer.bot, and then we're also getting the command command itself. So in this specific case, we are listening to the command. And it does show the counter, which is kind of fun. I don't know how often that resets. It would be fun to like note that somewhere. I would be amused by that. And we are logging out the event here too. So what we could probably do is this use alert. That ended up being the same everywhere. So what I'm going to do instead is say we're going to call this helpers. We are going to update imports, yes. We are going to move this. And we are going to do use alert. And we are going to instead pull it from helpers. And this will sort of be the beginning of some of our abstractions here. Use alert. So now we'll do this. I think we'll I'm actually probably working off the main branch, so I don't think I'm going to bother doing a commit at the moment. I'm going to leave this here. So this is an interesting one because we had the cup. The cup was drawn as two separate elements and exported. And when it shows up in 3GS, it's actually two separate elements. What we ended up doing, I think, is changing how we exported it so as to export it as a single element and just skip dealing with that for the moment, because I don't think there is actually a way to deal with that in the physics setup right now. And the physics engine, I guess, is okay, like the errors as I'm changing stuff. The physics engine is still kind of I think they specifically say it is in alpha. So it's easier to just tweak the things that we are running into on our end rather than waiting on something to happen downstream or upstream, I guess. Okay, so we can probably pull out some of this component stuff a little bit more, and maybe have like a material based one, or coming from the GLTF geometry directly. But I'm okay with what we got right now. So we're gonna call that part done. We've got the helpers and we've got the models and we got all that working. So the overlay that we have turned on right now should be the chat. I did turn off the test chat. I'm gonna turn off the production. And so when I say turn off, I can't remember if I said this or not. I have a stream deck, and I've got buttons set for a bunch of these overlays. So each one of these greenish colored ones, those are browser sources. In OBS, you can add a browser, like a URL or a file as a browser source. And then by putting it on the stream deck, I can toggle the visibility. So turning them on and off. And when I do that, it actually ends up refreshing the content in there. So especially these test ones, it's useful because it doesn't always do the hot module reloading correctly or at all. And I saw the error. I was like, speaking of which, it just hadn't scrolled itself. So this provides me an easy way to like toggle them on and off for y'all to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the main production one, the one that's actually hosted on LFI right now, and we're just going to be relying on these separate pieces for each of the things that we care about right now. The chat should give us this. So if we say something in the chat, that's going to give us That's gonna give us bugs. Shoots. But we got the models on right now, so leave that on for the moment. It seems we got an issue with our chat. It is always using the default, which is not what we want. So if event.data.message, event must be coming through and not actually console.log. We might not actually be looking. Oh, arguments. Okay. There we go. Don't even need to do that. We were actually logging out the event data, which ends up being a little bit confusing. But so event is default chat event data. Yep. So now give our chat overlay a refresh. So now it should work. There we go. It's still odd that what we had pushed up doesn't seem to be doing that. Because remember, if we go back to the beginning of the stream, when it first started, it could be like a positioning thing. Maybe I've got the frame or something wrong in there. But it wasn't actually all the way up at the top. We'll just keep an eye on it. It's, at least personally, I haven't found a good way to test the WebGL stuff. So we could potentially write unit tests for some of this code. But for the most part, we're like streaming events and just the data is what it is. We could potentially like throw in test data and like check the streams or whatever. But I think like this isn't terribly hard to notice and see bugs. I think the thing that would be useful would be being able to debug the physics stuff, because I think that's where most of our issues are going to be. Like once we throw it in the physics system, it's going to do what it does based off of the physics parameters. So if we're just putting it in a weird spot, it might cause issues. And it might actually be fine if we're just doing one at a time. When we're testing, we're doing like one at a time. But when things start to get wonky, or we start to see odd behavior, it's usually because it's something with like the way we have things set up with the physics, or we're like generating things the way we're generating them. If our elements are too thin, it seems that things become less determinant. So, that's all just stuff to like think about. But I don't know that there's really a great way to like test that. We're sort of like at the mercy of whatever the physics engine decides, which is both fun and interesting as like stream interaction type stuff. Like it's cool to just see stuff like randomly go flying or whatever, but also it makes it hard to program, I think. It's like all video games. Every time there's an update or whatever, there ends up being bugs, because there's lots of variables in physics. So, and not just like, tau versus pi versus blah, 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 blah. There is the inputs. There's just lots of different inputs that go into like determining how a thing interacts. Okay. So, all that being said, let's bring that all back around. So I think what's going to happen is with a lot of these things, we're going to like get it mostly working. We're just going to observe. So as people are chatting or as we're doing things moving forward in the future, we'll just kind of watch it. If it starts doing something odd and we can understand how it's happening and we can reproduce it, then we'll just work out those bugs at that time. So what we want to do now is we've got the chat working-ish. we've got the models working-ish. The alerts are also still working. If they were turned on. There we go. We do want to do a little bit with how that text is decided. But it's fine for now. Because we do have some ways to play around with it already. But that's a rather long piece of text. And the word wrap is kind of odd. So we might want to deal with that. But it's fine. It's fine for now. It works. So let's do... We've got alerts. We've got the chat and the models all working. I think we're good on that. But what we want to... I think we want to give it a shot. We'll give it a shot today. With our Twitch integration, we were using this feature.chat, and it was a way to I was looking for a way to how's it going? Wow, what the heck happened there? I mean, that worked. Something's funky there. Funky. Wonky and funky is funky. It's all funky. Oh, okay. All right. Let's reset that chat because it was kind of bothering me. It feels like we get it working and we get chat events and then it works, and then all of a sudden just like something changes or something happens and it doesn't. I'm gonna keep an eye on you. I want to keep an eye on your chat messages. Speaking of chat messages, though, we had this set up when we were streaming on Twitch, and what was nice about this is it would give me like a little thing that I can monitor for chat, which, you know, I've got like 3 places I'm looking at chat, which is a little bit annoying, but what I just had it off on the side, and what I could do with that is I could click on any message, and that would trigger like a pop-up. So you'd see a pop-up down here that would basically take that piece of text, show it in a larger form factor, and, you know, it would look nice. But that gave me the opportunity to be like, we're having a discussion, there's something that came up, there's a question or something, I can like click on that message directly and it would pop up, and that would be a way to rather than me trying to like point at a message or like specifically just start talking and not have to figure out a way to like specifically refer to a message or just reread it. Give me a way to like highlight a message and make it easier to talk about. So we want to do something similar. We need to figure out a way to like interact with a message to trigger an event to go through a whole thing. But then what we want to do is when we get a message up here, we want to pull it out and kind of put it right into the middle of the screen. And that's going to be the way that we talk about it. All right, we don't need the materials anymore, so let's go ahead and close those tabs. We are going to be looking at the chat page, how can we do this? Originally, I had the thought of using a quote. And what that is doing, somebody can use a command to add, remove, or to retrieve quotes. Please note the add and remove command need the permission level is defined in the permission to add. So in Streamer.bot, it's going into these events and then permission to add. We'd see a list of quotes here, but I don't think this feels like it's less about the quote. This is more about like people just putting a string of text rather than like saying, like highlighting a specific message. So I don't know that that's going to be what we want as far as interaction with this goes. And most of the interaction is going to be on my side. Theoretically, I could look at this and see the chat events. Can we say, is there like a way to view any of these? I don't think there's a way to actually edit or actually like view. So I mean, we can do this. Chat event. That's what we want. We can view the variables, but also like this is a lot of clicks for me to get to a place where I can say, hey, I want to respond to this specific message, because there's no way to actually see the message from this view. Okay, so that's, so if I just do chat events, no, it doesn't actually give me like a way to add extra like views. So let's just clear all filters. So I need a good way to like interact with specific chats. And the music just ended. What should we switch to? Let's do some hi-fi. Okay. So I don't think Streamer.bot is going to really help us out with this. If we look at the YouTube, well, let's actually look on Streamer.bot. If we look at the YouTube integration, this is specifically setting in. I want to see the events for YouTube. All events will have this. We get chat message, first words, user banned. Oh, that's kind of nifty. And we are actually on that version now. I did update already. So we do have the user, but yeah, present. Okay, and there is like a way we can trigger an update. So do we have anything else in here? Chat event, first words, user banned. What is this? I feel like these question marks aren't actually doing anything. Memberships, super events, broadcast events. So we don't have too many options here. We do have oh, that's kind of nice. I mean, I don't think that would be valuable for me to like put it on the stream, but it's kind of nice to like just be able to see that. It is a chat message, but it has happened already. I do actually want to have, so there's user banned, like that might be a thing. But also there's just other ways that you can like moderate that on YouTube that I think I prefer. So, you know, it kind of really seems like a super chat is the only thing that we could key into if we wanted to try to just rely on YouTube functionality. But that's not going to be a way to... I don't think that's going to be a way to... for me to click a thing and highlight it. Like when you do a message, you can make a message a super chat, which oh, actually I can do a poll. I just realized that. That's kind of fun. I don't know that that is going to be something I use here in the near term, but I can add stream markers. What does a stream marker do? Oh, they appear in the editor. I don't think that's actually going to be helpful for me, but you know. Oh. Completely sidetracking here, but I have an action that does timestamps, and I'm literally setting values in here. I could actually go in on YouTube, set message, send message channel, set description, set title and description. I could do set description or use variables to set a title. I mean, you know, going to use it sparingly, but it would be kind of nice to be able to say, hey, I want a new chapter here, and just literally update the description on the fly, because then I would never actually have to go back and do that manually. And as long as I'm good about pressing the button, we'll get you know, chapters on the fly, which I think is kind of cool. Super sticker. What is a super sticker? Okay. Well, I don't think there's a good way for me to interact on YouTube and see an event here. So the question then ends up being, like, what else do we have? Can't really do much as far as interacting on YouTube. There is a pin message. I don't know what that does though. I mean, pin message probably pins the message. Which might be worth looking into. Can I not do it in this? Got a little pop-out chat here. I might end up, in OBS, I've got a chat window where I see the messages. I don't really like that. It doesn't seem to give me much. I honestly kind of prefer their live streaming dashboard. I think I might end up using that more as far as the chat goes. But in there we can do we can do pinned messages. So what does a pinned message look like? So I'm gonna put this in here, and then we're gonna go ahead and try pinning it. We do get the message there. So if I pin it, do we see any event? It does say pinned up at the, I guess it'll probably show up for you right there. And it does stick, which is nice. It doesn't seem that we have any way of doing that on the fly with Streamer.bot. Hopefully that's something that eventually happens. But if a message gets pinned, it doesn't seem that we get any event either. YouTube pinned comment event. So we can do a bunch of pinning live chat messages, live streaming API. This is, I'm presuming, what we're mostly going to be, what the Streamer.bot integration is working with. Lists adds a message to live chat, deletes. So I assume there's some way that there's some expectation of a subscription. So, I mean, there's a list, but also like that's not live broadcast, transition, cue point, bind, update. I actually don't see any. Okay. Lovely. I mean, they might just straight up you can turn off live chat and comments. It might just straight up might not give us any API comments. So this is for I gotta imagine that it's mostly working off of the live streaming API. This is written in C# to make it .NET, maybe. Oh gosh. Get on that. I don't really want to like look at the overall thing. So okay, live broadcast. I don't know what the difference between a live broadcast and a live stream looks like. So we could potentially request features for Streamer.bot. It doesn't mean that they'll be added. It doesn't mean that they'll be added, or if they are going to be added, doesn't mean they'll be added soon. So if we want this to happen soon, we might need to roll something ourselves. So the pinned comment is nice. We can't get any information back, it seems, from Streamer.bot that this has happened. So it doesn't seem that we can actually use it in any valuable way. What is the statistics? I doubt there's anything that we want to dig into in the statistics, but let's just double check. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, we looked at it before. Yeah, so that's not really going to be... You can check stuff about the when the broadcast was updated. Remember milestone event. Okay, so that's when people do memberships, which we don't need to deal with now. Still working on getting monetized. I don't imagine this is going to be anything life-changing when that does happen or whatnot, but I think it'll give us a couple extra things to play around with, which would be nice. And I kind of wish they did like charity stuff. It would be nice to have that as an option. So this first words is kind of cool too. Do we have any information about that in the chat message? Not really. So I think if we want to do the first words, anytime anybody talks for the first time during that day, if we want to do anything with that, I think we do it as like a different event. So it's not gonna be a chat event. Like that chat will still show up there. Maybe we can do something with modifying the state and it actually like updates it and changes it here. But like, I don't know, maybe we do like something that pops up down here or something. I don't know. And that like might make sense to be something that's just straight up outside of our WebGL scene. Like we don't need to toss everything into WebGL because like in Streamer.bot they've got stuff as well. So like we could do, I honestly don't even know what we would do. Like we could trigger some other action, like toggling on a video or something. Like this all ends up going back to OBS as well. In which case we can do things in OBS as well. So that means that we could do something like pull up text or I don't know. Set browser source URL. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how we would use that, but that's interesting. So we could potentially do some of this, playing around with like triggering that stuff. The extension ideas. And there's also like cloud points too. I was also thinking about doing credits. Doesn't seem like credits works with YouTube at all either. So like the YouTube integration is not as full featured as Twitch. Part of that is just YouTube being different than Twitch and not having all the like the same feature set. Part of it is that integration is a little bit newer. I'm gonna unpin this chat here. So we don't get any events or anything for any of that. So I think we're gonna have to have some way to trigger and or interact with it, potentially outside of this. So we need some way to like click on messages. That's probably the first thing that we need to think about. We could do, is that the only thing that we care about? We've got a list of viewers in here, which is kind of nifty. And we can make connections to this. Is it actually worth doing a whole separate program to interact with Streamer.bot? It also has we can write C# and work with it too. But also, that's not something that I'm interested in doing because I know very little C#, and I don't. I'm not terribly intent on getting into it. There doesn't seem to be much else in here that we could do as far as like highlighting. Like highlighting chat. It might end up being it might end up making sense to just have another client that connects to this. And if it's a little program on the side that I have, maybe this makes sense to pull in Tori. If I have a little Tori app that I can use to connect to the WebSocket connection here and or OBS, I probably would make the WebSocket connection to this, because this can connect to OBS. Let this deal with all the connection and this be this like this central proxy that everything sort of goes through. Because I could then connect to this, get chat events, see the values, interact with them, and then pass messages or events back. That might be the way to go, because then we could do things with chat messages. I think we can highlight, we can remove. We don't have a way to, like, this is the only YouTube stuff we can do right now. So some of that stuff, like if we would want to remove, or somebody's coming in and being a troll, or it's just spam, we want to mark it as such, we would want to remove it from this, and we would also want to do the same on YouTube directly. It would be nice to update the viewer list as well, but yep, not gonna happen. There is also extensions. Interesting. Queue system. If you want a different output message, to just change the okay, so that opens up queues, and the way this is working is based on commands. What else do we got here? Let's go to the YouTube one again. There's Hangman mod added commands. Okay. So there's some YouTube specific thing. Oh boy. Okay. That's lovely. So this is all for just examples, basically. Like these are this is less depreciated extensions. Whoops. That should be deprecated, I'm presuming. So all of these appear to be less of an extension and more of just a way to copy and paste stuff in very quickly. I mean, some of these things seem fun. And like having points would be kind of cool. So it seems to do and this is on an older version. So this appears to be very much tied specifically to Twitch. And I think that's going to potentially be a lot of these. Lighting control, protective. Oh, what was that? Versus chat request to play YouTube. Okay, this just goes to their Twitch. So there's also this link protection. So like that's also a thing that we would need to be considerate of. But that's nifty. I don't see anything that's actually going to what does this do? I don't think this is going to come through. Yep. So this is using the channel point rewards. And like this is what ends up happening. So it seems like there's some pretty cool things out there, but nothing that is actually going to work around extensions. Put that open the longest. Hold key, cooldown tools, color converter. Interesting. I don't know that there's actually anything that's going to help us here. Allows your views. Click on their screen. What? I'm assuming this has something to do with so it doesn't say. I think this is very much dependent on an extension within Twitch. So you turn on the extension in Twitch, and that's going to be with the thing that's communicating. Ooh, there was the viewers alive every time X amount of clicks. Okay. So we have some of this. There's this API. I'm going to assume that it is very Twitch specific. Yeah, okay, here. So you're granting access to this extension that's Twitch specific. So we're not going to be able to use that at all. So there's a bunch of nifty things in here. But there's nothing I think that is going to guide us into... Oh, that's kind of cool. What is the... Oh, it didn't click, weird. So that's kind of cool. You can have a like connection and whatnot to this from Minecraft. Extensions, home, wiki. I think we're on the wiki already, right? Yeah. Let's just search for YouTube. YouTube live support is coming in 0.18. Yeah, like custom bot. It almost seems like we're gonna have to do something custom. More YouTube sub actions. Okay. Oh, so upload video. Ooh, that would be an interesting integration. After Twitch, one instance of speech. I don't know that there's going to be a good way to do anything with Streamer.bot directly to help us interact with these messages. So I think we're going to have to, which is a bummer. I think we're going to have another way to interact with it. I don't know that I want to put that in a browser. I could, I guess. I could put it in a doc in OBS. That wouldn't be awful. But I think either way, if I go Tori, because if y'all are aware, I do a bunch of Tori videos. There's a playlist, or I don't know which. Click the button to go to the channel, and there's a playlist for it. It gives us an excuse to play with Tori, which is probably more of the case here. But in OBS, you can also do docs, and you can do a custom browser doc. So for feature.chat, they just got a website. I had used feature.chat and just put it as a doc. So honestly, like even just a web page might be fine. And we could probably just chuck it right in here. We have a root already. And like we're not doing, we've got WebGL stuff and we've got it all wrapped in index. Yeah, like we've got this all wrapped already. So we have all the stream events. What time we got? It is 2.25 hours into the stream. Should we whip up a quick page that just shows all the chat events and lets us click them? I think that's what we do. So what do we call it? It's going to be /chat is going to be the WebGL stuff. I want this is going to be more of a monitoring thing. So maybe that's the way to go. We'll do we'll paste because I copied that chat folder and we'll call it monitor. And what I'll end up having is an endpoint that I can use that is going to act as something I can put on the side, and we'll have options on how we want to package that to put it on the side. But we'll have a way that I can just like monitor things on the stream besides just Streamer.bot, and then that'll potentially give me a way to interact with these. So let's chuck it into this right away. I'm gonna put it right on top, and we're gonna say monitor, and this is gonna be monitor, and we are going to have a route. We're going to put it second, so the default will end up being this. This will end up being live, and it'll be on the web page. But that's not a big deal, because what it's going to be doing when you click on things or interact with it, I mean, you could potentially look at it and see the same thing that I'm seeing. But I think it's all going to be the type of things we're going to show on there is going to be stuff that you kind of can see already anyways. So like, no big deal. And if you click or interact with it anyway, all of those buttons will just be sending events to Streamer.bot, which I have running locally. So those connections will fail unless you have Streamer.bot and you are like connecting to your own local version of it, which will be interesting if that is the case. But this shouldn't be like a privacy concern, effectively. So monitor, we are going to call this monitor. I don't really need that wrapper here, so I'm going to take that out. And I don't know that I need the suspense either. I'm going to leave it in there just because, but I don't think I actually need it. So let's just take out the bulk of this here. We're going to say, we're just going to make a outer div and div, and let's go with that. And we don't need a lot of this. So we want to still use alerts, but we don't need any of the layout stuff. And I guess we can have the default chat event in there. That's fine. We don't need any of this. That would be correct. We already have it wrapped in suspense, so that we don't even, I don't feel like we even need that. And then we end up having this. So channel alerts is going to give us all the events here. And what we have in here is a way to cut off the events that we see. We might actually want to increase that, because in the monitoring side of things, we could see more and have a scroll. But that's fine. So state, use alert. Let's throw the chat over here, and then we can expand this, and then now we can flip back and forth here. So what we were doing is, in the channel alerts, we were basically just piping it in. So we can do something very similar as we did over there, but instead of piping it into I guess we still do it into a component. Because what we can do then is say, we can also have a chat box. And say return. This is going to be I don't know. I should do better semantic HTML here. but we're gonna just roll with this for right now, because all I really care about is getting in the events and everything. Did I do that backwards? So null 2. We need to do space and no, this key space. Yep. So we want 2 as the space. So this should show us the. We're actually going to do this. It should just give us JavaScript object in a way that is give us a JavaScript object that is something that we can like see. There we go. So now we've got like text in there, and we can like ends up effectively being a message, and I can see everything, which is important. And like that's what this is here. So when I requeued it, it showed up in the chat that okay, what? That needs to be fixed. Let's deal with that real quick. Interaction should be. Guess we're gonna do this. There we go. I might. Yeah. So now what we can do is we can make that. We got the key, channel alert, index. Now what we can do is we can make this clickable. I guess I do want to just wrap it in a div right now, and then I'm gonna put the on click on the div. I think it'll be a little bit easier to deal with in the future, but so what can we do? If I click on it, I just want to. I guess we can do a couple things here. We are gonna take this out. We're gonna have a div. We're gonna have the pre, and we're gonna have a button, and we're gonna say delete. And we're gonna have a button, and we're gonna say highlight. Delete isn't gonna do anything for right now, but we're gonna say on click, do a thing. Console.log event. So now this is going to make that button clickable, and we'll see a log in here. Module reloading, not going to help us out here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and requeue the event. I pressed the wrong button. Requeue. There we go. So now we got a delete and a highlight. Again, we're going to have to work on the CSS. When we click highlight, we get the event. So we should be able to see the target that's being clicked. And now, how do we want to go from there? When we click that, we want to adjust the state here. So we basically end up removing it from the state. So we want to have something that we can pass down into here, a function that will adjust the state. So we'll say handle highlight. And that is going to be a function, and that function is going to We want this. We want to adjust the state, and our state is held in this use alert. So use alert takes a stream and a state. Do we use the state at all? We're returning the state. We're not using the state. So we could pass in a set state and abstract this out. It'll be a little bit annoying because they're going to be different. But it is what it is. I don't really need to return anything. Because I'm going to have it here. So I think what we end up doing here is, I don't want to call it channel alerts. That still feels odd. I'm going to take out the state. Use alert is just going to be like a subscription type of deal, where we're saying, hey, like, just fire stuff off. Like, when you get to the thing, just start handling it. And then we're going to have this function that's only run on click. We have a state, and then we've got a set state. So we can do the same set state there. And what we'll end up doing is passing in this. So this will have a stream and a set state. Now we want to, I think we changed this to be, it's not channel alerts. Chat events, I guess. Maybe chat events is the way to go here. So now if we say set event list, I feel like that makes the most sense in my head. So now we are setting the event list anytime we deal with this. This handle highlight is going to what is moving up now? Bye. This is probably fine. I'm okay with that. I need the event data though. In this one though, I'm not actually changing the I'm not actually changing anything here. Like, I don't want to change the state. I want to highlight a thing. Which is a different event, which I would have to handle in my other components. So I think what's happening instead is, rather than, I think I'll need to deal with the delete. But a highlight doesn't actually make it go away. A highlight changes. Although I could like adjust the color or something like that, so I know if I've highlighted it. We have chat events. Chat events are coming in, and this is the shape that they come in as. Do we... This is going to be our state. Our state is going to... This, in this case, we're pretty much matching up with what we had before. We can... It's an object. So I think I'm actually okay with just having the state here be slightly different. And what we'll end up doing is we'll say we're not gonna be modifying the existing state per se, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna map over it. So we're gonna say current state dot map, and this will return a new array. And in there, we're going to say event, and if the we need to get the ID. So if we say the message ID, now like that's not going to quite work because this is an event. We're going to do that. That's going to be our placeholder. So what we want to say, so if event dot message ID, so event dot message ID equals message ID. If that is the case, then we want to modify the return. Otherwise, we are going to just return the event. And there we go. All right, what are we missing closing? So if else this, that closes that closes that, and we need one more of these. There we go. So we end up then instead returning event and is highlighted true. So now we're going to get an extra arg if we have clicked on it. We do need to deal with this. But what we can do is we're going to say handle highlight. We're going to pass that here. Handle highlight equals this. And now we've effectively, this component, this monitor parent type component is going to be handling the state of all of our components. And these are, they're, what's the word for stateless? That feels wrong. They are, gosh, my React is rusty. They're not stateless. They are pure components. No, that doesn't sound right either. They don't have. They're very strictly view, and they don't. They're not concerned with their state or anything. They're just showing the data that you give to it. And here we're going to say handle highlight. And this is where we can say event. And I think we also say we can do the event, and we can do channel alert, I guess. So now that'll end up giving us, I don't like the channel alert text. What are we using? Chat events. Chat event. Chat event. And now this should be all alerts. This should be chat event. There we go. Okay, so this should have a second arg called chat event. So now we should be able to say if event, we actually have we have like a name clash here. So the current state, we'll say events state. Feels funky. We'll go with it. It's fine. There. So now this should change that value. So go ahead and refresh it. I'm going to go ahead and requeue a chat event. So we get an error. What's our error? Channel alert is not defined. Not surprised. Channel alert. Here we go. Let's try that again. Requeue. Here we go. So we got our message. Now if you click highlight, is highlighted is true. It is really small. Let's zoom in a bit here. Is highlighted is true. Excuse me. So what we can do is say style background color is either going to be inherit if chat event is true, and then it's going to be what should we do? Let's do tomato. We're gonna do tomato. So now we should be able to highlight an event. So, oh wait, I was like, wait a minute, it's not highlighted. Why are we being highlighted? Okay, requeue. Good. We're gonna highlight it. Good to go. Good to go. So now if we do another, this is technically the same message ID, but we've mutated it, and like these are actually separate messages. So this message will show up twice there, which is going to be a little bit odd. But if we end up requeuing accidentally for whatever reason a message that we want to delete, we just want to delete all instances of it. So I think it makes sense to just match the message ID. Like that's the thing that we care about. And now we have it as highlighted. So if we, and see when we click it again, it's actually going to highlight any of them that are that same message ID. So if we click it again, we're going to handle highlight. So what we want is, if it's the same, we are going to do the opposite of the chat event dot this. And now that's not going to work if it's undefined. So we say if actually that will. If it's undefined, that should make it true. That might actually just, we might have gotten lucky on that one. So we're gonna go requeue, we're gonna highlight, there we go. So now we can do the same for delete. I think we're gonna hold off on that for right now. We'll deal with that later. But the highlight will then give us a way to trigger an event. So we have now highlighted it, and so we're setting the state for this specific component, and now we need to fire off an event to. Oh, we don't have that yet. Do that another day? We might end up having to do that another day. We got distracted by the drop, you know, like. I had to have that in. No, it's not gonna work. We'll just reset it so we get everything to drop. We're getting pretty close to having everything stable. And now it's not gonna work at all. We did move a lot of stuff around. We've done a little bit of refactoring. We are just straight up on stream, relying on dev code. Things can happen. You know, it is what it is. Why is that not like resetting? Oh well. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, we're getting, we got the command. Another day. It's fine. We got the highlight. Now we need to do something with it. Can we get that done? Can we get that done? I think we've gone quite a while already. What we want to do from here, I think, is when we click on it, we want to fire off an event to Streamer.bot. Again, Streamer.bot is going to be like a proxy. It's the thing that is everything is going through. So we need to now fire off an event back to our YouTube stream. Maybe I should rename that. I guess it's not really a YouTube stream. It's sort of like a. I can do it here, and it's not gonna break stuff. We are using stream events. That should really be Streamer bot events. So like this ends up basically doing like a subscription to it to fire off like async things. We have the one set of state here, and then we're modifying it here. And then in streamerbot.events, we have our initial connection. What we can do, we have a client. With stream events is returning a channel. A channel is the thing that we end up being able to subscribe to. When the socket sends messages, we are spawning off a function to take that message from the socket response. Well, initially we will subscribe to everything, but then on that socket, anytime we get a message from it, we are piping it back in. We can also have a send, which is what we have here. So we already have a socket. Client, we're using a resource. So we're returning both. We can return a channel and the client. That's possible. All of our subscriptions will have to change. I think that's what we do. Let's get this hooked up a little bit, just enough so we can send an event. And then I think on the next one is when we actually do. What did we? I mean, we're doing the highlight. We just didn't get into the physics part of it, I guess. So I'm not gonna feel too bad that our description is a little bit ahead of the game. So now in our stream events, we have a use context. So anywhere that we're doing use stream events, which is these places. That's doing an export. So if we search for this, these are the 4 places that we're using it. Instead of doing uStream events, we're going to say uStream events dot channel, and that should, I hope, give us the thing that we're trying to achieve. And actually, it's the filter. I think we can undo that. Let's go. Can we undo that? I don't think we can. Here, lad. We'll search for this instead. There we go. Dot. Missed the dot. Oh, so it did undo. Did it undo? It did undo. Nice. Okay. So we're searching for this. We've got a bunch of YouTube stream. So YouTube stream dot. So that we got those three cases. I think what ends up happening is we just say YouTube stream should change into YouTube stream.channel. And rather than calling it a YouTube stream, we're going to say Streamer.bot events. Feel good about that. So that'll fix those. Hopefully it doesn't break anything there. And then in our monitor page that we were working on here, we can fix this one. But now we should have a client here. So we can say Streamer.bot events client .client.send. And that's going to give us the ability to send a WebSocket event to Streamer.bot. So let's double check the docs for that. And I think that's all that we're going to really need to do. We just need to figure out what kind of events that we can send to it. So we can connect and we can send a message. So you must subscribe. Requests. So we can subscribe, unsubscribe, get events, get actions, and do an action. So what we're going to do is we have a command and we're going to add and call it highlight. Stream events is fine. Q is also going to be Q. I think it's going to be chat events. No, stream events, because I want them on separate queues. I want the chat events to be able to come in on a certain schedule. The highlight, I just want that to happen. So what we're gonna just make sure happens, if we send a response, we want the action event to show up here, which is basically this. So we can say we're gonna send this. A request is due action. Our action, we need the ID and the name. So from here we can say, turn on some music real quick. The highlight has an ID. We can copy it directly from there. Boom. A name. I don't know if this actually matters, but we're gonna go ahead and do that. We can give it args, and that's the important part. Key value pair, and the thing that we care about is the chat event message ID, because that's going to be the thing that we key into to expose it. Message ID, we're going to keep the same format, and we're going to say chat event dot message ID, and then ID, that's going to be like the ID of the thing. I don't know if that ID changes. Do they say anything in the docs? Everything has an ID. I don't know. So what we're gonna say, we're gonna call it highlight dash this. Oh, that's gonna be static. Go ahead and requeue on here so we get something. Like we've got, so there's action ID. I don't know what, if that even matters or not. Running action ID. I imagine it's probably not gonna matter. So we're just gonna call it highlight and see what happens. Now this, I believe, is gonna be synchronous. So if we go back here, we'll hit do a refresh. Hopefully nothing's breaking. We'll go ahead and requeue an event. And now this highlight should give us a new event. Client.send is not a function. So in here we are doing send. Send is a function. Create socket. Socket. It's undefined, that's why. This feels a little bit odd. I mean, this is a client. My client is this. Yeah. Am I using socket anywhere else? Maybe that's the. I'm gonna change these to be client. Oop. Client. Client. And then I don't need to define this, because it's my socket client. I feel like that makes sense in my head. Highlight. ID. Status okay. It sent it. We get our highlight event. Now, this should loop back around to where we get an event and we are also listening to, I'm gonna leave this one open. I'm gonna go to chat. I'm gonna refresh just in case. Streamer.bot events is not defined. Okay, so I didn't quite hit on all the things, unfortunately. We can fix that though. We have the technology. YouTube stream. There are still a couple cases where it's wrong. So we're going to replace those so we don't break those. Alright, give this a refresh. Hopefully that is working now. Okay, so if we click highlight here, let's do this. We'll do this. This, and this, and this, and that. There we go. So now we have an event. We'll refresh this one as well. Let's requeue the event. It should show up in both. If I hit highlight, we shoot over an event here. We're not getting the event here, which is as expected, because we are listening for channel alerts, and we are specifically looking for the chat event. But what we can do, that event should come through. We're listening for raw events. So if we trigger an event and it shows up here, we should see. Yeah, so we're listening specifically for chat events here. We could also listen for highlight events. We can either put it into the same thing and like note that it's highlighted, or we could have completely separate ones. This highlight is a whole separate event. So I think what we do is we actually say, call this, instead of channel alerts, it's not really channel alerts. It's more of a chat event. If we do this, this is also using the set state. Use alert set state. I think we only have one highlight at a time. I think we can make that assumption. So what we can say here is anytime we get a new event, channel filter, let's filter instead of chat events, let's filter for stream events. And then we're going to pass the highlighted to the chat box. Let's go ahead and log here first though. Console.log, alert. Return. Just to make sure that we're not missing any part of this event. So it's doing the highlight events. We're gonna have to send through like an is highlighted or not. I'm not actually seeing the events here though. So let's refresh that. I am getting the events here. So we are subscribed to raw events. So stream events should be giving us all of the events that happen. So this is correctly firing off. We can see the variables that show up here. Action ID, running action, message ID. Message ID being the important thing because that's what we're going to use to do the actual like highlighting of the message. And then we can also do the is highlighted. But honestly, like if we fire this off, I guess we want to know there's two states, highlighted and not. But only one of them is going to have that state. I guess if we just pass an empty is highlighted, we'll just not highlight any of them. So I think actually what we have there now is fine. So in our chat, we should be getting this. This should be So highlighted is going to be a stream. A stream of I guess I almost need to like pull up the state here too. Let's just use alert code again. We are looping through and we're setting a state and like using it. do we do the same? The expectation here is that this has its own piece of state and it is an array. So anytime we get a new event, we're doing this slice deal. I'm gonna just copy it for right now. It's just starting to get a little unruly, but we're gonna say use alert, and we're gonna call this use highlight. We're gonna wrap this highlighted in this. This will give us another piece of state that will represent what value is highlighted, or what message is highlighted rather. We can take the log out here because we can actually put it down here now. So use highlight, we're going to get a state. This is going to be we're going to start off with an empty state because we don't want anything highlighted. We don't care about defaults. We don't particularly care about the event data either. I think we just end up passing. I guess that's fine. Event data. I think we're basically passing this. We're just setting the state to be that. So like it's this. And now, like, honestly, this makes me feel like it's not. I don't feel too bad about this. Okay, so highlighted should give us a specific value. We could log it out here just for an indication that we are actually getting through to this point. And then that might be about to where we're getting to. So we get a highlight event, sends a highlight, we get the event coming through in Streamer.bot specifically. And we don't get it here. So I would definitely expect to see it there. We can do Streamer.bot.events should be everything. We could do this just to see. We're not actually using highlighted anywhere. So like if we're just changing the state every time, no big deal. Let's give both of these a refresh. I'm going to queue up a chat event. We see event coming through in both places. I'm going to highlight. We're not getting the event through. So there's something that's not actually like triggering it. I would expect that event to come through every time we press it because it is sending it. It's saying status is okay. It's possible that we need to somehow subscribe to it. And that might very well be the reason that we're not getting that event. Let's double check our alerts. No, not our alerts. This. Stream events. We are subscribed to raw action. That should give us. I would expect that to give us what we want. We are getting JSON.stringify message. So it is stringifying it, sending it through. We're getting it. It's just not emitting an event back. I don't think there's anything here that would like. This, so you got a WebSocket server. I mean, I guess it can start more. Can you do like custom ones? WebSocket server add. Oh, yeah. And you can pipe it into an action. Interesting. So I wonder if, I mean, we're getting the event. It's doing the thing. Those tabs are a little bit confusing. We're getting the highlight. It's coming through. We're getting the event. It's being completed. It is coming through the queue as a stream event. We should be seeing the actions. So there must be something with the way when we send an action that do action, trigger an action that you provide. It must not actually trigger the event back. That's the only thing I can think of. Now I could entirely believe that. I could very well believe that, because I don't know that this is going to be like very deeply used yet. This seems like a very custom integration type thing that I doubt people have like really kicked the tires on, other than like getting events of subscribing. You have to do that. So if you're doing this whole process to get events and subscribe to this WebSocket server that's running, you're gonna do those. But I have a suspicion that maybe they aren't doing it back the other way, and it just hasn't been used that much. Because I would definitely expect an event to come back. We've got, let's see. Our stream events are subscribing to commands, YouTube, and raw. Let's grab this event list. Let's just make sure that there's nothing else that would be showing up in here that might I heard my cat's doing something. Like, it's not even connecting anymore. They'll lose connecting open. What? I think we're like hitting the end of this. We might end up having to call it here and do what we can to ask in the Discord about it. Page reload. Why is it just stuck loading now? Okay, we're gonna close this. We're gonna reopen it. And we're gonna reconnect. And we'll refresh the browser pages. That should trigger a reconnect. Show up yet? Yeah. No. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Connected. Okay. What? Is there some weird? Okay. I don't think this is the issue, but I'm going to like I wonder if there's some weird like renaming something or other going on here. I think maybe that could be the case. All right. My queues are going to be blitzed, yes, which are fine. So I'm going to have to do a new chat event. Got that. It's showing up here. This is really big. Let's zoom out a smidge. There it is. So now if we do, well, that's annoying. Well, highlight this. We can see the highlight went through. We just got the chat event. So we're not actually getting any events here. We are getting events though. So like we should be getting the action raw. Yeah, action raw. It doesn't. Got it twice? Oh, stream events and index 235. Index of alerts. I'm guessing, right? Alerts? No. Of chat. 235. Line 235 is right here. So we are getting an event coming through showing the raw. But when we trigger an event here, we are not getting any events here. So there is definitely something there. We are doing args, ID, request, and action. It's possible that there's some expectation with the ID. So in this case, I want to, I don't know, this feels wrong. But let's give that a shot and see if it actually like, there's like no docs on that ID. So I suspect it's something like that. Requeue, highlight. We got a chat event. Whoop. Click delete. Good thing my delete doesn't do anything yet. Yeah. So it's definitely not coming through. So we'll ask about that. I think that's where we're gonna call it. I think this is what we want to do. But we're kind of stuck, I think. If we can't see the actual response. I don't know what we can do. Like, here, let's look at the event list. Let's just make sure that there's nothing else in here that seems like a thing that we would want to subscribe to. It's not a command. It's not a file watcher. I mean, we could technically use files, but we've got everything hooked up with WebSockets. That feels like the right thing. WebSocket custom server, WebSocket client, YouTube, raw, action and sub action. It's not a sub action. Like we're not firing off a sub action. My hands are cold. Warming up my hands. The it's the weather is frigid here, but it sounds like that's not we're not alone in that. General custom. I don't know what that does, but we're gonna just subscribe to it for giggles. Let's see what it does. Yes, you have what you need there. You just need to update. Let's go ahead and refresh. 79 is undefined. 79. Oh, even less. Get events. Ah. I didn't actually need this here, did I? I just need to send it. Okay, so let's just make sure that it's not a custom event. We're gonna refresh this. We're gonna queue up chat event. We are going to highlight it. That does the thing there. And 235. Yeah. So this is the raw action, and this is the YouTube one, and this is the also the raw action. What? Message, new chat event. Message, new chat event. And this is a chat event. Message, new chat event. What? I'm logging it out multiple times. I was like, how is it doing it multiple times? Because I asked it to do it multiple times. I don't know what the general is. No idea. It definitely seems like it's just not coming back through. So like I get the events, it's just not piping the event back out. So I'm gonna assume that it's just something that hasn't really been, those tires have not been kicked. So I think we're gonna call it there. I think I will then just go kick those tires. We'll see how. I can't imagine that it's gonna happen quickly. Like that we might not be able to do that chat event in the delay. There's still a little bit that I need to futz around with this to see if I can get it to work. But I think we got everything else enough for now, and we'll work on the events and the highlighting kind of going forward. Slow play it a little bit. So let's see. Next week is kind of a lot of holidays and such. We might not stream. I'm gonna play it by ear. We'll see. TBD. And I'll kick the tires on this. You know, maybe we'll see something. Maybe it'll be a quick thing. Maybe I'm missing something. If not, then, you know, whenever we end up getting the functionality, then I think we'll come back to it. I'm glad that we did this though before we ended the stream, because at least we know that we need this, so we can, you know, put up the request or the question and go from there. With that being said, next time, I don't know what we'll work on. Depending on how things land, we might end up getting into the new year. And there's a few Tory things that I do want to come back around to. So we might be doing Tory things, but probably not until until the new year, 2023. Play it by ear for next week, and yeah, we'll go from there. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. It was a good stream. We got some stuff done. I think I'm definitely getting a handle of everything now, and I'll end up probably doing a bunch of like code cleanup and such over the next couple of weeks, just maybe on the side, and that should help with some of these like refactors and such. I feel like we got like 90% on a bunch of these things that we've done on stream, so I just want to get that last like 10% plus all the like cleanup or whatever finished, and then figure out what would be nice to figure that out. That now that we've got like test events, now that we can do this. Yeah, see, something is. Yeah. See, now that one was fine. It's like getting dumped below it. That might be an ordering thing too, depending on how we're like mapping over that array and how we're like. That could be like a React 3 fiber, how it's doing like the reconcile and such, and with our state changes. Yeah, well, I don't know if that'll be a stream thing. It would be nice to figure that out. I don't know that if that's going to be the type of content that will be interesting though. So we're playing it all by ear. Now we can schedule streams on YouTube. So I'll go ahead and, as I get stuff figured out, we'll schedule streams. So keep an eye on that. Hit the which direction are we? Is it subscribe and like? Is that what it is? I feel like I always get that backwards. Hit those buttons. Check the schedule for the new content, and I'm looking forward to the new year. We'll start knocking out some videos besides the stream, and we'll do some fun things on stream. I want to do a little bit more experimenting too, less on topic as it were, and as this is more of a becoming more of a behind the scenes type thing, I feel like it lends itself to testing and experimenting even more so than it did before. But also experimenting and doing the stream stuff, I feel like is less like I feel like we've done all the things that are interesting as far as working with WebGL and working with physics, integrating stuff together and doing it all in the React 3 fiber and plugin ecosystem. And unless there's something that's really interesting there is a new editor. React 3 fiber is coming out with a new editor that they've been teasing. I don't know what the timeline is for that, but they were teasing it a couple weeks ago. So that might be a good time to come back in and play around with stuff. But I think for the most part, we've hit on all the things that would be interesting. So we're probably going to set this aside. But yeah, feel free to. I'll probably do like some community posts and whatnot to get some feedback, and comment below if there's anything that you want me to dig into, other topics that we can hit on. We've got the whole back catalog, so we can see what we've done. I'm kind of open to anything though. Rust, JavaScript, sort of anything in those ecosystems, I guess. It's really broad. But I mean, we've done like static site generators. We played with Remix. We've done Blender, 3D modeling. We've done WebGL. We brought all our models into WebGL. And we've done Tory, and we can wrap all this stuff together. So like it feels like many different topics, but also I enjoy those dopamine hits, experimenting with some of this stuff and playing around with it and seeing what it can do. But we're all kind of, it's all in the sort of the same like area of that we're hitting on. So I don't feel too bad about meandering. So comment below. Well, let me know what you would like to see and what we can get into. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good weekend. Have a good holiday. Bye. Ah, my button moved. Bye.